Proof of funds is a very important eligibility criteria while applying for Canada PR or applying for any one of the Canada PNP programs. So I see that there has been a small update to the proof of funds requirements recently, which basically means that the eligibility or the dollar value of the proof of funds has increased. So I thought this is a good chance of making a refresher videos on proof of funds. Usually we expect this kind of requirements to change around June, July timeframe. So what I see now is there has been a latest update on the proof of funds, and in this video I would like to cover an update on that. So let's see. Consider this as a refresher of proof of fund. So for those who are unaware of the proof of funds requirement, I will go through the full proof of funds details. But for those of you who are aware, just note that the table for proof of funds was updated, and this update was expected around 25th of April 2023. So if you have not yet updated your proof of funds in your Express Entry profile and still waiting for a nomination, please go ahead and update your profile today. And the details you will find later in the video. So what is a proof of funds? So proof of funds is basically your ability to sustain you and yourself and your family in Canada. Depending on your family size, the amount of funds in Canadian dollars that you need to bring would change. So who needs the proof of funds? So there is a positive list and a negative list provided in the eligibility criteria for express entry. So first thing is the positive list. Who needs proof of funds? So you need proof of funds if you meet the minimum requirements under the FSW or FSTP program. So if your express entry profile qualifies under a federal skilled worker program or federal skilled trades program, you need to meet these proof of funds requirement. Next, there is also a list of who does not need to meet proof of funds requirement, but with some certain conditions. So how do you know if you don't need to show enough proof of funds? So you don't need to show that you have enough money if you are applying under CEC. So if your express entry profile qualifies under CEC or you have more than 1 year of Canadian experience anywhere in Canada, you can be exempt from this requirement. Or if you are already working in Canada and you have a valid job offer of working in Canada, then even though you don't qualify under CEC, say for example you just moved to Canada and but you have a work permit, you have a job offer, and you qualify under the foreign skilled worker program, so you can still apply for express entry and you don't need to show proof of funds as long as you have a valid work permit and you have a valid job offer. It's your responsibility of the applicant to mention in the express entry profile how much fund he or she is willing to bring to Canada and how much is available to them during their stay in Canada. Now, how much money you need? How do you calculate this dollar amount? So this dollar amount is basically calculated by your size of the family. So if you are just alone, the dollar amount is lower, and as the family size increases, the dollar amount keeps going up. What's included in a family? So to calculate the size of your family, it specifies that you add yourself, you can add your spouse, you can add your dependent children, and you can add your spouse's dependent children. So only spouse and children are eligible to be applied. You must, if the caveat is, if you have a spouse and a and children, even if they are not coming to with you to Canada, you still have to include them. Okay, so this is the recent update on the dollar amount of the required funds. Please note that these funds have changed not by much, but still the difference is noticeable. It's around $600 per person. I have seen around $650 per person as compared to the last update. So if you are alone, your required funds is $13,757, and then with two members is 17,127, and it keeps on increasing. So at the last line, it says that if you have more than 7 members, it goes by $3,706 for each member of the family. So you can roughly expect for each member of your family, it's $3,706 beyond the first member. So this is the very important update that has come through. And if you have not yet updated your express entry profile with these, at least these minimum amounts, please go ahead and update your express entry profile. Next, let's have a very small discussion on what is acceptable as proof of funds. I know most of you must be aware, but still as a refresher, let's just cover what's acceptable as proof of funds. I have not seen any change in this, but let's anyways discuss this point. So funds. So these funds must be available to you when you apply for your PR, and then when the PR is issued. So through the entire process of your PR application, these funds should be available to you. So it's not sufficient that you have this funds only at the time of your application and not at the time you are issued your PR. So you should have it both at the time the uh, a Ircc is issuing you PR, and also at the back at the time when you applied for it. So make sure you have enough funds throughout this period. This period can vary from few months to few years. So make sure you have these funds available during that whole period. These funds must be You must be able to legally access these funds, which means that you should only include the money which belongs to you. So you cannot use any equity or real property. You cannot borrow this money from different person because these are not readily available to you. So these, however, but if you have a spouse, you can include any amount of money you have under your joint account or under your spouse's account if you can prove that you have easy access or ready access to that money. How do you submit the proof? The proofs is in the official letters given by the banks or the financial institutions in which you have account. These letters should be printed on the institution's official letterhead, and these should include some of these details like the bank name, the bank contact, your name. If you have multiple accounts in that bank and say those accounts relate to credit cards or loans, it should include those details, and then breakup of all the accounts, different accounts, and amount head under those accounts. So this is what should be contained on the proof of funds letter. The next question is how much you should bring. Ideally, the guideline is bring as much as you can, but whenever you are bringing in, make sure that you declare it at the port of entry to the border officer. So if you are bringing any kind of cash, any kind of stocks, any kind of banker's checks, any kind of documents, financial documents, which basically is convertible to money, make sure that you declare that at the port of entry. So I know I have gone through this in a previous video, but just wanted to do a small refresher so that we all are aware of what we are dealing with. And for again, I'll just stop at the dollar value of the proof of funds so that you can note this and make sure that your profile, your express entry profiles is updated. Okay, so I hope you find this useful, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.